Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TV show. Can't even talk now. The TVL show, Total Value Locked. We're here to talk about the news of the week and educate you on everything that's going on in the world of on-chain and blockchain finance. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi Professor. We got a great show lined up for you today. Let me go ahead and bring in the guest panelist for this week from the great project at Base Blockchain, Hydrex Finance. We've got Matt here. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Chris. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here, sir. Excited to have you here. I'm just getting the word out right now, real quick, that we are live. But wanted to just kind of say, yeah, ask how's things going with Hydrex. A little bit of a before we get into interviewing you more about it, just like a 10-word spiel on what Hydrex is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So things are going great for us. Hydrex is a decentralized exchange or a metadex, more specifically on the base blockchain. And we see ourselves as a universal hub for liquidity and an engine for sourcing liquidity.
Engine for sourcing liquidity. That's actually very important, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So I'm excited to have you on here. Excited to really talk about, what are some of the really cool things that are going to be happening with Hydrex moving forward. And before we do that, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on here in our space. And it's been a little bit of an interesting couple of weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the word to use. Interesting. Uh, but we'll take a look at the markets real quick before we head out that way. So, looking at the markets, overall, we're continuing to see this ranginess, and that's something we've been talking about for the last couple of months. That we're just going to be fairly sideways, crabby, which is great for groups like Hydrex, right, Matt? Because you get that sideways movement, not a ton of volatility. Then we still have volume. Great way to earn fees. Great way to earn yields. Delta neutrals on the table, hedging is on the table. Uh, just having this sideways crab market, frankly, is good for everybody overall. It actually has given a little bit of a chance for equities in TradFi and DeFi to kind of recouple and recorrelate a little bit. So maybe it makes it easier for things to measure. But overall, what are your thoughts on the market from the past week, Matt?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in this interesting territory where markets have definitely, on the macro scale, corrected a lot, but a lot of relief, kind of in this limbo territory, figuring out whether and who knows whether we'll go up, whether we'll go down. Um, I used to be an active trader, and now that I'm more at Hydrex on the BD side of things, I am definitely more interested in staking and LP opportunities for my yield. But I think also things are fairly decent considering the large volume of hacks that we had
Yes.
um, over the past kind of couple of weeks. AI is finding a lot of bugs and errors that humans just can't find, and that's posing all sorts of security threats. So
And we'll talk about that because we're now in the unofficial, what's being called the age of mythos, I think is what a lot of people are calling it at this point. So it's kind of funny because, I'm like, I don't know if I'd call it that, but clearly more than a handful of people may have some access to information that we don't know about and we'll talk about we'll talk about a tweet that I saw from Stacey Muir specifically because it's pretty eye-opening would be the word that I would use. So next thing we'll look at is bubbles. Whoever decided that it was time to bid on lunacy, which is classic Luna, stop. We have moved forward from that age. But overall, this does tell a little bit of the story of what's kind of going on, specifically with, let's just call it some ethics issues with the Trump family properties. So overall, I think we're just kind of seeing just some ups and downs. I don't think anything is. I wouldn't say this is a nothing burger, but overall, uh, just some basic kind of narratives that are going around. I wouldn't say that there was a lot of news over the last week, so nothing here is really standing out outside of just some isolated stories here. Do you think there's any news in here, any narratives that you can glean from this map? Just looking at this map.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure that there's too much. It's always kind of tough to parse out like signal versus noise.
Yeah.
I feel like from my personal perspective, um, not seeing a ton of not seeing a ton of signal here personally. But be curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Honestly, I'm more curious about what the setup is for the news that's coming later today. We are going to get Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft earnings reports. Robinhood is actually down a little bit because their earnings came in a little bit left of target. Uh, Also, we're going to get. I mean, I don't understand why anyone thinks that there's going to be an interesting change from the Fed. There isn't going to be. The only news from the Fed outside of the committee approving nominee Kevin Warsh coming in. We'll see a little bit more about when his confirmation hearing happens. I think next week or the week after that. But we'll see exactly how this all kind of plays out. But even from like an X stocks perspective, there is a chance to actually play off of some of these here in DeFi. So curious to see how it all plays out. Obviously, what we've always been saying for the last couple of months, just don't take any leverage and just kind of stay safe. That's the only thing that really we've really just tried to push, is that there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of sideways motion, but there's a lot of ways to get wrecked in this space right now, specifically, especially with the way that the manipulation through mainstream events and just what people think is happening through either prediction markets or anything like that. You never know what's going to happen, but either way, just stay smart. But we'll go and move into the first story that was on the agenda for today, and that is Litecoin has done something that most people probably have not seen before, which is the ability to rewrite history, at least on the blockchain. I'm not personally a Litecoin holder. I was at one time. Uh, I think the Walmart thing kind of kind of threw me away from that multiple years ago. But regardless, there was a 0-day bug that disrupted mining pools, and it allowed invalid transactions to come through. So what they've done is that they reversed and replayed the chain because of the double spend attacks that were happening through here, and they've effectively rewritten history. Um, there's been some polarizing things about this, right? At least in the last couple of weeks, at least for me, a theme is centralization is okay if it's protecting users' funds and security. Purists, such as friend of the show Taylor Monahan, Tevano, is she's been on the attack on people trying to not be very secure, or at least finding security bugs after the fact, because apparently this is not the first time the double spend was exploited. It also happened in March. So, well, anyway. There's a lot of things that are going to be changing, Matt, I think, as you know. Man, what a past couple of weeks that we're seeing here with this interesting turn of
Yeah,
events.
yeah, it is. It's very interesting, and it's curious to see how things will evolve. Right? Is people start to use, I think, not even just like from like a double spend perspective, but from any sort of contract security. Like, how is this going to shift? How is this going to shift the way people develop? How is this going to shift the way people audit? A lot of the auditors that I've spoken to, they have said, it's incredible. AI can do a lot of the work when it comes to finding bugs, finding any sort of exploit. So that's kind of one trend in this area that I feel like is going to shift it. But the other part to it too is, I feel like the attacks we're seeing now are much more sophisticated than the
Yes.
early days of DeFi. And so, it's not just, oh, here's a function call where I can drain the wallet. It's like much more sophisticated, takes much more planning. So, yeah, we'll be curious to see how all this evolves for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing, we talked about this last week, is that there's now an attack on less secure infrastructure, right? Before it was always about oracles, it was about backing and attacking that. For the most part, DeFi has hardened itself fairly well, so that smart contract hacking, unless you've done something very bad, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is you know is not really going to happen. So groups like all of the major groups from Lazarus and then the affiliates are going after things that are less secure, like RPC nodes is one. I don't think it's on the agenda, but GitHub being hit with a remote code execution through the enterprise side is awful. We're going to see some interesting shakeups here, where essentially the things we always talked about, like, man, what would be really bad for the industry if something happened to GitHub, Tether, and Aave? We're seeing two of those three happening. And so now it's about rallying and trying to see what can we do, at least in the age of AI, as you mentioned, and just understanding how these things happen. Are we going to get better threat modeling at all levels, not just from the smart contract level, but also from like the even the DNS, the RPC, the Oracle, and all levels in the application stack to make this a much more secure and robust place to operate? Because it'd be one thing if we were still 5 years ago, Matt, but now we're looking at, roughly 300, 400 million in TVL into the system. Sorry, billion, not million, billion. Uh, we're at a point where I don't think we can go backwards, because institutions who give zero fucks about this, about what we're doing down here, they're bringing all of that money onto these rails.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's definitely that anti-fragile kind
Yes.
of characteristic of DeFi where, like you said, it's hardened itself.
Yes.
And so, yeah, definitely still optimistic about how things will evolve. So, yeah, definitely in alignment there.
Exactly. So one thing we'll talk about, and this is kind of hand in hand with this migration, because 2026, we've talked about this on the show, Matt, that this is the year of integration. 2018 to 2025 was like the disruption, ideation, implementation, and just getting all of what is now part of what will just be called finance, right? No, there's no more DeFi and TradFi. They're just merging now in this year. Uh, it's going to take more, at least on the US side, more attention to that discrete framework about, what is and what isn't allowed. Now the CFTC and the SEC have given a lot of, and the FDIC even have given a lot of great guidance on what will and will not be allowed, but a lot of institutions are still waiting for the Clarity Act to come down. Now that the Genius Act has been passed for quite some time, we're almost on a year on that hopefully we'll get this done. I honestly don't think it's going to happen, but waving the wand is what President Trump is doing to get this through. And Tom Tillis from North Carolina, who's an outgoing senator, by the way, he's not seeking re-election. Uh, he is throwing up flags, specifically on, what we just talked about, with looking at the bubbles with Trump ethics and just ethics around other people in this industry. We got to make sure that, special interests and all this stuff are not being uh, defined, I guess would be the word that I would use, because people think that it's a huge issue that Trump and the Family Media Corporation have so much invested in this space that he wants to replace traditional finance. So, um, with that said, as of this morning, it looks like there's some new news uh, before we came online, Matt, that says that, it looks like that they're going to solve this, and that a lot of roadblocks have been cleared here. Overall, the stablecoin yield issue that Coinbase was talking about probably still is not going to be addressed, and that's okay, because Coinbase has their banking license. It doesn't matter anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
so we'll, yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things that have been happening overall. But and I wanted to get your take on this. How important do you think the Clarity Act still is now that the SEC, the CFTC, and now the FDIC have given guidance? Is this just the nail to just put the icing on the cake, or does it need to still happen? I guess this is what's happening. They've been acting in the event that it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think realistically, like, well, let me ask you a question first. Do you think that the market has priced in? What has the market priced in? How is the market reacting to this? If you think,
I don't think it is, honestly. I mean, I think it's priced in, but I don't think the market's reacting to this at all. Um,
Hmm.
I do think that, with regards to risk assets, it's more sensitive to the geopolitical issues right now as opposed
Yeah.
to this because um, I still think Japan is a huge part of the equation. And depending on how things go at the beginning of June when they're going to raise rates on their bonds up to one basis up to 1%, not 1 basis point, which is a huge area from where we were, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I think that has a bigger effect on risk markets and how people are going to be moving money around than anything. So, with that said, if there is any bad sentiment to this, I think more of the bullish news from more big institutions and even more big CEXs coming on
Mhm.
chain and bringing that on chain for a better experience is probably going to outweigh that. I think some of the things that have been said over the past couple weeks with private credit have helped with that. I think Morgan Stanley and Goldman filing ETFs for Bitcoin, also
Right.
things that are helping uh, counterbalance, I guess, this potential bearishness over what's happening with the Clarity Act. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's fairly priced in, but I think the market has just been more sensitive to more
Geopolitical.
geopolitical manipulation than anything.
Yeah, that definitely, and I definitely share the thinking there. I feel like at the end of the day, if big institutions want to deploy on chain because of either the technical efficiencies, the economic efficiencies there, they're going to find a way to do it. And so I would say that, legislation is going to follow economic activity rather than lead it, is as a general rule of thumb.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I'd feel about this in general, with respect to clarity.
Yeah, and overall, if they wanted to do it tomorrow, they can. Right? They've got
Hmm.
all the tools that they need. They've got Chainlink
Yeah.
with their 24/5 Oracle. Tempo is a thing from Stripe. Arc is about to start on their voyage. If they
Mhm.
Canton Network, of course, is a huge part of it too, and they can easily just kind of push that all in there. If they wanted to do it tomorrow, they probably could just deploy and just start going. They're not going to because they're trying to position themselves in a way because they have marketing to do and they have education to put together for their private clients that uh, has to be done in their, let's call it, their legalese, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that's probably the other part too. And I think I saw something from Paul Frambot from Morpho, which I thought was interesting. He said that and this is something that when we met in Denver was something that a lot of people were talking about. Institutions want to have control over their liquidity pools. So them looking at regular everyday DeFi pools, probably not something they're going to do unless there's a specific tie to good liquidity with them. But we'll see. So, with looking at what's been happening over the past couple of weeks, Aave, I'm assuming Aave did this, they created a donation address called DeFi United. Now, what's interesting is that this said 319 million yesterday. So I don't know if people just removed 6 million or they just kind of had to recount some things. Um, so they opened this up, I guess, to everyday people. And as you can see, some people are just dusting with dollars into this DeFi United envelope. And well, this is an interesting way to cover the hole. I guess is probably my original thought, because the majority of the hole was covered quickly. And if I can get move that way, all right, it's hard for me to kind of show this because it looked. There we go. I'll do it 90%, which probably, and I just realized that nobody can actually see for some strange reason. This is Ecamm being Ecamm. Okay, DeFi United, and I just realized now that everything I've been showing on the screen for the last 20 minutes didn't get seen. Oh well, it is what it is. So we have multiple people who gave, rather large groups that have contributed to covering the bad debt at Aave from the RSE bridge into ETH mainnet, and then the borrowing of the wrapped ETH, which has already been laundered through Thorchain for the most part. We have Arbitrum DAO with 30,000 ETH that they were able to capture by the Security Council just flipping the switch and saying we're freezing that and sending it to a vanity address. Leading the pack with no loan. This is not a loan. Joe Lubin and Consensus, the heads of Infura and MetaMask, 30,000 ETH. No loan. Just like, let's just get this taken care of. Amazing. Mantle, Aave, also near that, but those are loans with governance votes tied to them. Stany Kulachov, founder of Aave, 5,000 ETH. And then we have Layer Zero coming in yesterday with 5,000 ETH after all of this happening. But the whole is covered because it was like 290-ish million that was there with bad debt. So this has been covered. It's great to see people coming together, assuming these votes come through, right? It's amazing to see that these groups have all come together to quickly cover the whole, probably just in the name of what we talked about earlier, Matt. Aave is a pillar of DeFi, not only just from a liquidity standpoint, but just from a Lindy standpoint. If Aave doesn't make this is not a good look at all for what's going on here. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this coordinated effort? It's great to see that they filled it so quickly.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely is. I feel like the character of, if I can take like a step back and
Yeah, of
answer
course.
it, I'd say, from like a traditional financial perspective, from a crypto perspective, in the crypto sphere, I feel like uh, the environment is definitely much more like collaborative, and people are more willing to like help out. And there's still, there was this like almost like evangelical reverence in the really early days of crypto that kind of united people. um, and it gave it, people were more friendly with each other, I would say. So that ethic, that ethos, I feel like is really, it is still present to some extent, even if it's just people coming together to ultimately, cover their own ass. But like it is fantastic to see that spirit is still present, overall in the ecosystem. So yeah, it is cool to see for sure.
Yeah, and I think and so I think for me, this has been an interesting, let's just call it a reset, because essentially that's kind of what this has done, right? Uh, the attacker didn't have to go to Aave uh,
Yeah.
to make this happen. So it's interesting how interestingly a point was made, and it woke a lot of people up to some really bad thing, not really bad things, but some overlooked things, right? That have been happening here in the space, at the cost of roughly $300 million. Uh, I don't think, unless I haven't checked the Dune dashboard, because according to the Dune dashboard, 47% of all Layer Zero OFT customers were only using the one of one DVN, which is most likely the Layer Zero Labs DVN, for confirming the bridging of assets across multiple chains that are in the Layer Zero ecosystem. Uh, but I reckon that number is going to go down quickly, because a lot of people are now looking at their own security. I think EtherFi bumped up to three DVNs, and a bunch of other people did as well. Um, Adding in redundancies. A lesson has been learned, and the system is quickly moving to heal itself. I mean, if you look at it kind of like how a
Mhm.
scab forms, right? With regards to your platelets being moved, and new skin being rejuvenated quickly. It's kind of crazy how quickly they were able to cover the hole. But now that the hole is covered, it's like, where do we go from here? Because last week the name of the show was DeFi will survive, which it will. DeFi will survive. It'll iterate. It'll continue to thrive because, of course, no one country, no one entity owns this industry. This is meant to be anti-fragile, centrist, and persistent. And at some point, trustless and permissionless, without any true issues. So, um, before we, kind of jump into Hydrex, just your thoughts on how you think security and just overall care with how people look at OPSEC and how people look at how overall infrastructure is being taken care of. What are your basic high level thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think everyone has revisited their OPSEC. Anyone at a protocol has. I know we have at Hydrex. Just at this period in time, everyone's revisiting that, and yeah, that's ultimately kind of part of this natural anti-fragility that's present in any sort of system, right? Something happens, there's an error, people look at it, and then resources are allocated to solving for that problem. Um, so, if there's a desire to be on chain, there's going to be people. If there's a desire on chain and there's obstacles to being on chain, one of which could be security, there's going to be a certain amount of force, of attention, resources that are going to be allocated to solving whatever hurdles exist to being on chain, whether that's security, whether that's OPSEC, whatever it is. So ultimately, I think it's just kind of it's the system working through itself.
Yeah, I completely agree. One thing that I would like to pitch, and whose ever ears this falls on, I'd like to make OPSEC a much cheaper venture. Because when you're a company that's starting out, like for example for Hydrex, getting audits done, making sure that everything is on the up and up, and just getting that go to market strategy in a safe and secure manner is not cheap. In fact, it's one thing that a lot of companies are really dreading having to do. But the reason why we have all these security rubrics and all these security issues is for peace of mind for your investors to come and drop in liquidity. They're not going to do it, thanks to people like me who have, just preached, if they don't have this, and this, they're way too high risk and not worth putting your money into. So a lot of companies have taken and spent the millions of dollars to try and make sure that they have the best security. And we need to figure out a way to make security more affordable for protocols. They don't need to bankrupt themselves hoping that, they'll be able to be there in 12 to 24 months because they spent the majority of their budget on security. It should just be something in lockstep that happens go to market. Obviously, people need to get paid. It's a business model. I get it. But at the same time, for a lot of businesses, especially startups, guys, it's so expensive. And I don't know if you share that take, but ugh.
It's super expensive. It's super expensive. But yeah, it's just the industry. So
Yeah.
that there's going to be hurdles. There's going to be obstacles and hurdles for any sort of business model, and it just happens that because of the industry we're in, that happens to be one of the obstacles here, and it's just kind of a part of the territory.
Yeah. And I say that, and this is a segue into a post from Stacy Muir. Shout out to Stacy Muir. Uh, Follow Stacy if you don't. Great research that's put out there. This is what I'm talking about. I'll bet money that a lot of people don't know 80% of this list. If you're a DeFi native, you may know probably 60. Let's put it that way. I didn't even know all these protocols that are on here, and I don't know if you do, Matt, but the the aftermath one, which just happened this morning, which is I think 1.14 million, and I think they're on Solana. 24th hack in April, with more than $624 million stolen in total. That brings the total for Lazarus to well over almost to $8 billion, guys, in terms of how much they've extracted and stolen from this space. We got to figure out a way to make this better, because that's unacceptable that a bad actor that size, and I mean by a small team, is able to test and extract this much out. And this is a lot of money from a lot of projects that people like, right? So seeing a lot of things that are happening here just due to various issues, and we're not going to go into all of them or most of them, but still, When you see things like 2.5 mil from Hyperbridge, Drift gets hit for 200 and 285. We just have to figure out a way to do this in a much better way, because it's hard to see this, because the losers in this, frankly, are the users, because it's their funds that are being lost here. The people who run the protocols, obviously, they have their stake as well, but it's mostly the users. They're not going to get a bailout like Aave did, and yeah, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Do you have any thoughts, Matt, before we move on?
Yeah, it is crazy and it is unfortunate to see. And yeah, I mean, at the same time, like there's a lot of premium as well that comes from navigating the territory, and some of that premium is because of the inherent smart contract risk. But yeah, it's tough to see, and I'm 100% with you with, it's unacceptable. Um, but I do have faith that it will. If there's a desire to be on chain, there's a desire to solve the problems that keep people from going on chain, and this is one of the problems. And I'm optimistic that that it will heal.
Me too. And honestly, we're still here in the early. We always say we've been saying we're early for 5 years now.
Still early.
We're still
Still
early.
early.
Yeah, things are going to fall
Yeah.
apart. New things are going to rise. I'm a full believer that the cream rises to the top, but we got to make that level of cream thicker, because there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good developers that have been wrecked by a lot of just some really bad decision making. So let's
Yeah.
make it easier for good teams to make good decisions. Security industry, we can do things to make this easier. I don't care if it's just rev share or profit sharing, for having good security, stuff like that. And we'll have someone from Seal Alert, some of the other groups that are on soon, to kind of go back and forth on that. But either way, April is a month that I think a lot of us are willing to definitely forget. Even though May is always the sell and go away month, uh,
Yeah.
I think May is going to be a very interesting rise, all things considered. So looking forward to May. My point is, stay safe, stay secure, make good decisions. If you follow what we follow, it's all about not over investing in any one protocol anyway. Allocate, have a system, have a security rubric, be a smart investor. Don't be a gambler. Don't put all your money in something on pump or something like that. You can be smart in this industry and have longevity. And as long as you have the longevity, you're gonna keep fighting and winning in this game.
Absolutely. Any number multiplied by zero is zero. So
Ooh, I like that. I like
yeah,
that.
I stole it from someone else. It may have stolen it from Buffett. I don't know, but
Hey, that's
yeah,
okay.
it's a good saying.
It is a
It's a
good
good
saying.
adage for sure.
It's not on the agenda, but I saw it right before we came on. MoonPay did say today was going to be a big day, and this is the reason why you went out and got Caroline Pham, the acting secretary for the CFTC for the past, I think, past couple of years. She's been at MoonPay for a minute, and she pulled this deal. Now MoonPay, which really has always just been an on ramp, let's be honest, is now going to be a big on ramp, because they now have an institutional on ramp to make it easy for the institutions not to bring just their business, but their clients' business on chain. So this is good. This is good to see. Um, we'll see exactly what the fingers are here, because MoonPay made a lot of money last January off the Trump and Melania launches. So uh, we'll see. We'll see exactly how this sets up. But I'm sure, like everything else, we have to make sure everyone acts with good intentions, and this is a good acquisition for them. So, any thoughts before we move on, Matt?
Not on that.
Not on that. And again, my screen share is not working. Let me bring that back so I can have that tweet. That's there.
There we are. Okay.
There we are. All right. So anyway, I wanted to bring in a little. We normally do a cold open, but I'm like, let's do this in the middle. So just to kind of a little buffer that's here before we kind of move into the second phase. BTC Vegas was just now. A lot of our friends that are in our circles because we met at ETH Denver are there having a decent time right now and just making good connections from what I hear. But and we were talking about the conference circuit and what we're going to be going to later. But for me, I'm just gonna pivot 180. But to Matt, is there anything that you buy that's a food product that you are unapologetic for?
Uh, food products wise, I've started having low temp pasteurized milk
Ooh,
with the cream on top. With the cream on top, so you have to
tell me
shake
more
it.
about that. That's a thing.
It's a thing,
Huh.
yeah. You can get it at like Whole Foods, and yeah, it's fantastic. It's a
Low
little on the pricey side.
low temp
Yeah,
pasteurized milk. Huh.
low temp. I believe that's the classification, but yeah, it's like less processed
Yeah.
and yeah, it's fantastic. It tastes great.
So is it
Um,
kind of like a middle? Well, it's not technically raw milk, right? But
it's not technically raw milk. Yeah, it's going to be a middle ground between kind of ultra processed milk and raw milk.
hmm.
So if you want to dip your toes, not that I consume raw milk, it's also kind of hard to get and stuff, but um, in the U.S. But yeah, that's I'd say I'm unapologetic about that. A
Very
little on the
cool.
pricey side, but it's fantastic. I'd highly recommend.
I might have. We get raw milk here, but we don't
Okay,
personally get raw. But raw milk is very easily found here in the Midwest. So
okay,
it's not really hard for us to get. But I'm very curious to learn more. That's interesting. I'm gonna
yeah,
have to tell my wife
yeah.
about that.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, no, yeah, I think it's a little harder to get if you're. I don't know. I mean, it's just not in the grocery stores. You just have to put in some
Yeah,
work to find
yeah, for
raw
sure.
milk.
Well, mine's not as glamorous. I was just gonna say I'm unapologetic about buying whipped cream cheese.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Do you put
I
lemon pepper
exactly.
on top of the cream cheese ever?
It's an easy way to mix in. Like if you want like an easy dip, just grab a
Mhm.
$3 tub of pre-whipped cream cheese, and that's the big tub, by the way. You can get a smaller tub for like under $2. Thank goodness, inflation. But but yeah, just like if you're looking for that. But for me, it's like there's nothing I dislike, and I know this is such a first world problem. When I'm having a bagel or something like that, like I had this morning, I'm like, God, I realized that we were. The thing about living with five other people is that sometimes people don't communicate when things are out, and when
Yes.
people can get a little lazy and not let me know that there is no more. There's literally less than a half a spoon worth of whipped cream cheese in the tub available, and then I have to go find a block of cream cheese, and then try and spread that. Ugh.
It's a bad start to the day.
It,
No
it
one
you know
wants to start their day like that.
it kind of was. I'll be honest with you. It was not the best start to my to my day, but you know what? In the grand scheme of things, the fact that I even have access to whipped cream cheese is one that I
It's a
will.
win.
It's a win, right? So I know there are probably people just cringing about the idea of me being that unapologetic about whipped cream cheese, but when you actually have it, guys, whipped cream cheese is uh, is something to behold. Anyway,
I'm with
that's
you
all I'll
there. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Whipped cream cheese is the way to go.
I agree, and I use it in a few things because I dress up my ramen when I have ramen, not like
Uh,
the instant ramen, but I get like Japanese or Korean
prop.
ramen packs. If you add cream cheese to that, elevated 100%, just like
Huh.
that. There's a lot of things you can put cream cheese in that elevates it. Mashed potatoes, by the way, if you add butter, sour cream, and cream cheese to it and push it all together, win.
It's phenomenal.
It's
Okay, I will
phenomenal.
steal that from you.
Yeah, definitely do it.
I'll my one tip would be if you're making a bagel, one thing I'll do is I'll put cream cheese on the bottom and then
Mm,
avocados and then lemon pepper on top. and that's fantastic.
That
Yeah,
does sound really good now that I think about it. Just that acid little. Oh,
yeah,
thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And that's been the
of
middle.
course.
We'll we'll do a couple more middles, I think. But that was
Quite
fun.
transition.
It's a great segue to what we're going to talk about next, and that is introducing you guys to Hydrex Finance, which is Base's frictionless liquidity hub. You can find it at hydrex.fi. And yeah, this is I've used it. In fact, one of our most successful investors and part-time coaches put me onto Hydrex uh, 9 months ago. I want to say it's been a minute.
Yeah,
It was right after you guys launched, uh, and you guys are doing some really interesting things here. In a world where Aerodrome is clearly the largest, meta dex in the space, you guys are really building on some really cool things here and generating a really good buzz, in my opinion. So, yeah, just to kind of reintroduce the group to Hydrex, if you want to go ahead, Matt, and just describe a little bit about what to expect from Hydrex.
absolutely. Yeah. So, and thank you again for that generous intro. But yeah, so Hydrex, we are a Metadex on base. We're going to function similar to with the Aerodrome flywheel model. Um, we've made some improvements to it. We've iterated on a few designs, but our focus really is as a universal liquidity hub. So we're allowing two different parties to benefit from the system. One of them is people who have liquidity that want to earn yield, and then the other is offering traders very efficient routes to trade. One of on the front end, for example, if you click on the trade button, um, our front end is going to route through not just the Hydrex pools, but all of the pools. It's an aggregator of aggregators, and we're doing pretty healthy eight-figure volumes per month through our front end right now. So yeah, I'd say that's what we are, and that's how we sit in a nutshell on a high level.
I don't have time to connect my wallet, and you know
Oh,
what
no
I do?
worries. Yeah.
I do. Let's do it the fun
Uh-huh.
way, because if you guys didn't know, Rabby now has biometrics. And by the way, Rabby is the wallet that we recommend uh, here at Beacon. We have for quite some time because of the quality of life improvements that it has. And I love the fact that I can just use my biometrics to now open, the Beacon Course wallet that we do all of our content from. So if I just connect my wallet, it's well, I need to
Other wallets,
other
and then
wallets,
Rabbit
and then Rabby is
at
right
the
there.
bottom.
Yes, I don't. I know I don't have that much, but that's okay. Um, some more details, and then I'll tell you. Actually, it doesn't tell me the routes, but so you have. You're aggregating multiple routes to get this trade, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we're tapping into multiple aggregators, routing over all the pools that we can find. So it's not just those swaps are not just limited to Hydrix LPs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have something called the based swap guarantee, where we are effectively guaranteeing that you get the best execution. And if there's a better route or a better route available, then you can let us know and we'll make up the difference to you.
That's wonderful. That's actually
Yeah.
really cool. Um, I love that actually. What I like here too is you have a couple different versions of swapping here at the DEX. You have a DCA model. For those who don't know what that means, DCA means dollar cost average. So you buy assets at any price because you're not looking to time the market. That's what you never want to do. And you have the ability to DCA in, uh, and that's normally a scheduled buy or a scheduled swap when you're DCAing in. So normally if you DCA in, some people do it weekly, monthly, daily. In this case, you could do it uh, every 30 minutes, looks like, or two orders every hour. Or you could do limits, and you could also do just a regular buy. It looks like through a Coinbase fiat on ramp. So all very cool that you have this here. This is something I haven't seen from other MetaDexes. So that's really cool to do. What was the thought process in having these options? Was it just more just thinking about? I wish that Dexes had this type of deal.
Yeah, I think because kind of twofold. We really are just trying to figure out and take any feedback we get from our user base. If there's something or direction or a feature that they want to be able to see in their swapping experience, that's something that we want to build out. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is we have been leaning more into this narrative of basis for traders, and we want to support trading. That's kind of we view trading as one of the fundamental pillars of finance. And that is, I think, the pillar of finance that's going to migrate to, it brings people on chain and it exposes them to some of the other financial applications. So maybe you start off as a trader and then you end up kind of experimenting in lending markets. Maybe you want to get into more sophisticated DeFi strategies after that. But from our lens, the journey of finance of DeFi does begin with trading, and we're trying to make that journey and that first step is as rich as possible.
Awesome. Let me just pop back in and pop. It's gonna be one of those days. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the interface overall. So, other things that you have here that kind of create that flywheel effect, as you mentioned, was the voting section. But I wanted to learn a little bit more about how the accounts section works. So, yeah, this to me is one of the coolest things you guys have. So, if you could describe how this works.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we took the VE33 model and we kind of looked at it. And one of the things we noticed is when it comes to folks who want to earn on whatever assets they have, there's three key buckets that you're going to fall into. You either have assets like CBBTC, your Bitcoin, maybe some meme coins that you want to earn yield on. Now, you're going to go ahead and stake that and be a liquidity provider to earn yield on our platform. Because we're a DEX, you're plugging into the AMM process and guaranteeing price execution for folks who want to trade with your assets. You earn a fee on top. That fee goes through our system, and that's how you earn. That is all going to be contained within the liquid account module on that right-hand side. So all of the assets you're staking, those will be managed from the liquid accounts. And then the other two accounts are going to be flex accounts and protocol accounts. Those have to do with fee collection. And this is to do with the Hydrex token. So if you purchase the Hydrex token and you lock it, you can lock it permanently into a protocol account, or you can have a flexible lock, which goes into the flex account. Both of those locks are going to allow you to earn weekly fee revenue from our DEX. So our epochs end on Wednesday, and everyone who voted on liquidity pools to direct emissions, they're eligible to claim those fees. Those will get paid out today for flex accounts and protocol accounts.
Very cool. So protocol accounts will be permanent locks, correct?
Yes, protocol accounts are permanent locks.
Okay.
Yeah, there's kind of, from what I understand about the intelligence of this decision, was that there's really two buckets of users for metadexes. There's people who treat their entry into that token, whether that's like a Aerotroke token or whatever, as a sunk cost, and they just want to be able to collect revenue over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what our protocol account product does. The flex account feature is for folks who want to be able to enter and have voting power, but they're maybe not 100% sure what kind of commitment they want to do. So for the flex accounts, it's going to allow you to enter a 2-year lock where you get 100% of your Hydrex tokens back at the end of the 2 years. There's a 50% exit penalty if you break it before those 2 years are up. That exit penalty is going to decrease linearly over those 2 years.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense. Earning power. I'm just curious, like one to okay. So that's where the key is, because as you mentioned, the sunken cost fallacy. I mean, it's just the cost of doing business. The best part about the protocol account, it's better than a subscription form because you're just stacking and knowing you're putting it in there. You're just hoping for the good ROI, which is a classic DeFi model, right? Making sure that you're
Yeah.
into a protocol that you're gonna spend this much, even if you're doing something like DePIN, you have to put in a specific amount, and you'll
Mhm.
just earn over time passively, and it'll just after a certain amount of time, it should exceed what you've put in. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 And I think our APR is around 42% for voting at the current
yeah,
moment. And it changes, it fluctuates. But yeah, yeah.
can I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this because this is something that we don't talk about it too much, but something that I think probably needs to be talked about more is the importance of voting in terms of getting the right pool with regards to getting incentives uh, and whatnot. Is there a easy way to vote if you forget to vote every week?
There is. So this is one of the problems that we solve for is in this MetaDex model, there's a few different shareholders or stakeholders in the system. Stakeholders would be the right term. But we have people who have the Hydrex token, and they're going to be earning by voting. And so if you click on the vote tab um, in that screen,
I already
this
have
will
it. I
show
just
up
refresh it.
our. Oh, perfect. I feel like I've done a bad job telling you when the tab is sharing or not, so I apologize about
No, no,
that. But
it's on me.
um, no worries. So in this tab, you're going to see the weekly revenue that's up for grabs. So this week, we have a decent amount of revenue. You can see the different pools that revenue spread out among. So revenue comes in two forms. It comes in voter incentives, which we call bribes, and then it
Hmm.
comes in fee revenue. Um, you get to allocate your votes in whatever way you like as a user. So if you want to allocate 100% of your votes on one pool or another pool, um, you go ahead and you earn money that way. In the accounts tab, we can automate this voting process for you, and it does a form of profit maxing where it's
Okay.
going to vote on the most profitable pools and then convert that into a token you like, whether that's ETH, CBBTC, or just USDC. We have some specialty strategies like we have one for tree gen, we have one for repo, and then we also have a based memes strategy as well if you did want to degen a little bit.
Okay. No, that's great. And that's actually the most important thing because I think most people they're like because of time, there are a lot of them are
Mhm.
just set and forget, right? You're like I'm just
Yeah.
going to go and and just kind of vote for what I think is going to consistently give me good money because that's kind of how at least with Arrow and Velo how they've kind of changed the model on that is that they have a fee APR but now they also have the emissions APR. So you kind of have an idea like on a consistent basis what's good, but here this is really cool because um I think a lot of people don't realize the power of the bribe system that Convex kind of created, right? So many years ago. So really cool to see that this is kind of how this is how it's laid out. So I'm assuming it's from the global epoch rewards that are being spread out here based on how that's being laid out.
Yes,
Correct?
that is correct. Yes.
No, it's
So
really
it's
great.
the total amount of rewards up for grab just for our Hydrex tokers token holders is going to be that total epoch rewards number. It changes week to week. Um, and the other component to this is on the flip side, those rewards they're going to get funneled into what we call emissions or Hydrex tokens,
Yep.
which get paid out to all the stakers. And that's what allows this model really allows the community and the token holders of the Hydrex ecosystem to take part in all the revenue that we generate as a DEX. And this would be in kind of uh, it's a different token model than what you're going to see on a protocol like Uniswap or some of these earlier stages protocols where you have the token and it has utility as a governance token, etc. Um, but it's not brought into the economic model, the tokenomic model of the exchange in the same way it's going to be for a MetaDex, VE33 models.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Hydrex and Well, I guess Anchor Club.
Yeah. So what Anchor Club is going to allow you to do is it's going to automate your rewards and lock them. So if you're going ahead and you're LPing on the USDC CBBTC pool and you're going to earn rewards over the course of, say, a month, 2 months, this is going to auto lock those rewards into votes and voting power, which gives you rev share. Um, and to incentivize users to do this, we're going to give them a 1.5x multiplier on the rewards that they get. Those Anchor Club credits will be redeemable within the wallet widget. And yeah, this is just something we're doing to help kickstart the community and incentivize and help support the early adopters of the Hydrex ecosystem.
Love it. And I see that you also have a protocol acceleration fund, which I think is great. I think with the early exit, so you can reclaim some of that Hydrex value. Um, it's a really cool flywheel in terms of how money is
Yeah.
coming in and how money is going back out, and a good example of why it's so powerful. Regardless of if you choose
Mhm.
the flex or the permanent account, uh, there's clearly there's clearly a value to keeping your money in the protocol. And that's the reason why protocol and liquidity can be so powerful, right? With VE33, is that you have the
Mhm.
ability to just kind of keep everybody, locked in, continuing to be there, building, of course, sense of community and all that. What are some of the other? Are there any other specific parts of the Hydrex token that are important from a value accrual standpoint to what Hydrex is doing?
Yeah, so I think this option token component is going to be pretty important to the Hydrex ecosystem. So we pay rewards not technically in the HYDX token, but in the OHYDX token.
Okay.
And the reason we do this is because this effectively allows us to give a boost to people who permanently lock their tokens. And that's the action, the economic action that helps the Hydrex protocol out. So we're able to give you future revenue for taking that action and incentivize long term alignment. Um, for folks who want to liquidate their earnings into a different asset, we're able to take a 30% of the value of that market rate HYDX and lock it into our SPR. This SPR is a key part of the Hydrex protocol, and it allows us to have, we have over $1 million in there right now, which we can put for helping to make deals happen. We can use that for just backing the ecosystem in one way or another. Just gives us a lot of flexibility from an operating perspective. Whereas if you don't have a method of value accrual increasing a central treasury effectively, uh, it is going to limit. It's going to limit operating domain, the domain of action, so to speak, in the operating perspective. Now, all of the APRs are going to take into account and assume that you're going to liquidate the HYDX. So we're discounting the effective APRs by 30% on all of our pairs. So if you go ahead and you lock it into a protocol account, you're receiving a multiple of whatever that APR is in a present market value. And so yeah, that's how that piece works. That's a unique piece of our ecosystem.
No, I think it's really cool. Yeah, and I realize we're a little bit over time, so I want to thank again Matt from being here
Yeah,
from Hydrex. Do you have a couple extra minutes to talk a little bit more?
of course.
Okay,
Yeah, I can
perfect.
chat. I'm good for a bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to specifically kind of go, into, the next part of what you guys have on the roadmap, but I did want to take a second to just kind of, step back and just kind of learn a little bit more about you, your journey, and what drew you to this protocol.
Absolutely. So, got into crypto in 2016, 2017. I was in high school and had started the investment club at my high school and had a group of friends who were interested in investing. One thing led to another. One of my best friends ended up introducing me to this thing called Bitcoin. and it was
Oh,
super, super expensive. It was almost $900 a coin. And I decided to buy a fraction of a coin, um, just to kind of dip my toes. Ended up building a trading bot with that friend and a few other friends from my high school. In the We would meet at lunch in the math rooms in our geometry teacher's classroom, and just work on this trading bot. That was my first exposure to crypto. Ended up co-founding the blockchain club at my university, helping to write a portion and give lectures for one of the first non-technical blockchain courses at my university, and then have been uh, interested in the crypto space just from a hobbyist perspective, whether that was LPing on metadexes like Black Hole, until I got my role here at Hydrex, which was October, November is when I started supporting Hydrex here. And yeah, I was drawn to Hydrex specifically because I was very interested in the MetaDex model. Had a lot of I was doing LPing on Black Hole decks
mm-hmm.
and trying to think
On
about
Avalanche, right?
yeah, it's on AVAX, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and just thought the economic incentives were cool, but I felt like there was some room to improve that model a little bit over what Aerodrome did, and felt the team that was behind Hydrix was incredibly talented and very impressed by what they had built. So Garrett, his brother Austin, Jimbo, just really impressed with what they did, and yeah, that was definitely what drew me here.
And what's interesting is that you guys are all tackling different parts of like the VE33 jungle, we'll call it that, right? Because,
Yeah.
a lot of people associate VE33 with, um, I mean, I don't know if you can really call Convex a VE33 project anymore, but, uh, looking at that, looking at what the original Solidity and SolidX were, moving over to, even what Aerodrome, Velodrome were doing, Ramses, and that whole
Mhm.
family of group projects, each doing different things, each bringing new things to the table, like with Shadow, for example, on Sonic, shout out to 24, and how they did this kind of early exit haircut deal, and not people not wanting to do a full 4 year lock like they do on Slipstream with Aero Velo. So yeah, so it's cool that you guys have this too. And what I like about that is that you've also included the stuff on the front end with the trading and the DCAs, and uh, yeah, I think it's a lot more thoughtful. And I think that's probably the one thing, at least from my research into what you guys are doing, is the most interesting is that everyone has their own kind of little take on the whole thing, and you can do well on all of them, which I think is important. And obviously with Black Hole, with shout out to Elio and shout out to Alex in terms of what they've built there.
Mhm.
They brought even a different take on it, which I think what you guys are doing is uh, is great. So I did that kind of walks me to the next part, which is kind of what you guys have on the horizon, which I haven't seen from a lot of different projects that are in this, at least in this niche of metadexes. So kind of wanted to talk to you about that based on what you guys had on the blog post here on
Yeah.
on what's coming. So let me make this a little bit bigger so that everyone who's watching live or watching on the recording, but on the full steam ahead roadmap that you have here, got a couple of interesting things. First is a send.trade module, which is really meant for traders moving forward. You've got the MEV capture piece uh, to help bring in even more, I'm assuming, more value to Hydrex token. You have a custom router you guys are building, and then the bottom part, which is here in the part on this portion, the agentic launch infrastructure that you guys are building into Hydrex, which to me is the most interesting part about this. So feel free to kind of wax on what each of these four components are going to be bringing to Hydrex overall as a very compelling metadex to use on base.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our roadmap is kind of created to capitalize on some of the opportunities we've seen in the market and where we feel that we can take our core infrastructure and apply it. So, if we look at the first thing, which is send trade, this is effectively, you can think of it as a skin on top of the Hydrex infra, that's going to allow and be more catered towards trading. So, that's definitely a direction we want to move in. And something we felt was worthy of being built out. We've hosted a couple of trading competitions
Mm.
with a base grant that we received. So leaning into that vertical is something we're doing. Looking at other ways to support value accrual back to the ecosystem. The MEV capture is definitely an interesting thing we're working on. Um, yeah, the MEV ecosystem is for those who don't know, stands for maximum extractable value. And every single transaction on chain is going to change the state of the chain in one way or another. And what MEV does is it looks at a transaction and it sees the result of that transaction. And an MEVer is going to effectively exploit that in one way or another. And exploit might be a little bit of a harsh word, but as an example, arbitrage between two different liquidity pools. If we have a pool of USDC ETH on Uniswap and a pool of USDC ETH on Arrow, and we place a trade and sell ETH on the Uniswap pool, that is going to go ahead and reduce the price on the Uniswap pool relative to the price on the Arrow pool. Somebody can exploit that difference by buying and selling, capturing the delta in price. That whole ecosystem is MEV. So we are looking and exploring for creative ways to integrate that into Hydrex in our ecosystem. So that value capture is not captured by a third party, but is retained within the ecosystem. The router SDK, yeah, just looking to give more tools and kind of support the community and partners to basically create some more synergy in the space. For the agentic launch infra, there's a few different. I feel this is a piece that I would love to touch on, but I'll refrain from going too deep beyond what we have in that article,
Yeah.
just because we have some announcements over the next few weeks around that. So I will say, stay tuned. Stay tuned for the multi. Stay tuned for that on that vertical, I would say.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate you. Showing the restraint there because in in the in the midst of all this, we have base Azul, right? So in terms of the next iteration of this base fork that's happening, my question actually is, since you guys are base native, with this new version of base that's coming through, will it change the strategy of what you guys are doing moving forward, or is this still full steam ahead, just with some newer toys to play with?
Yeah, it's gonna be full steam ahead. The core value prop of Hydrix is we have the flywheel, we have the infra that we've built out, and then it's just getting that in front of the right distribution channels. And so if we build out a wrapper on top of that, which is more catered towards traders, then that's something we're gonna lean into. Ultimately, we want to use everything every tool, every feature that Base is pushing that we can possibly use. We're finding a way to leverage that and experiment with that and include that in the Hydrix stack, so that we're really kind of just tailored and optimized for Base. We are not multi-chain. We're entirely on Base. So that's I would say what our thought process is on that aspect.
No, I think it's great. I think what you guys are building here is pretty special, and I'm excited to see here. So I'm assuming that Send.Trade is also going to be is it mainly spot, or are there perps, or is it mainly perps and not that much spot? Just for those who in our group that do love both.
Yeah, so on Hydrix, we're going to be primarily focused on spot. So
That's great.
the pairs that you see they're all spot price, and there is opportunity um, to potentially work with or support perps platforms, or perps, but it's not something we're super uh, in our current kind of BD pipeline. More focused on infrastructure projects, and then we are focused on enhancing that trading experience.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Again, want to thank Matt from Hydrex from being here. Please check out the website hydrex.fi, hydrex.fi, to check out the beautiful friction. Why is that there? Well, there we go. To
I think
check
it's
out the new frictionless liquidity hub on Base. One of my new favorite projects on Base. Show them a lot of love, guys, because they're putting in a lot of work, which I think is really interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about the Apple Pay integration that you guys have there? I think it's interesting that you featured that right next to the Base logo.
Yeah, so we have a few different ways to put your funds on chain, and just kind of trying to connect, just make the onboarding process as simple as possible, whether that's using the Coinbase on ramp or however you guys can go ahead and however, whatever channel is easiest for you to move funds on chain, we want to support it. So that was the thought process.
Amazing. And you guys have a Farcaster mini app as well. That's always good to see. Hopefully they will continue to be supported. We'll see how that all goes.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, we'll see.
Well, again, check them out.
But yeah,
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
all right. I was just going to say thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and yeah, it's a great conversation.
Yeah, anytime. You're always welcome anytime. And again, check out hydrex.fi to check out all of this great stuff that they have here on the site for your LP needs, and really watch back and just kind of see how a flywheel works within a DApp. It's actually quite fascinating, and I'm really excited to dig in deeper onto that. If you like what you heard, please also I'll make sure that I'll put Matt's socials over there as well into the comments on the video post. Follow him as well, and check out our free group, which is called Total Value Locked. It is where many people have gone to learn more about decentralized finance and getting into on-chain investing. You can click here on our Start Here post. You'll get a message from myself and our CEO, Andrew, and you'll learn a little bit more about what we're doing here. We have plenty of free content, but if you're looking for more handholding, one-on-one mentorship, and being with the best of the best, and shout out to our Beacon Mastermind founding members, our current members, our Beacon challengers, and our Spotlight subscribers for helping making what we do possible. School.com/Beacon. Plenty of free content if you want to learn more about how to get into decentralized finance, on-chain and blockchain investing, and staying safe and secure in this space. Yeah. And that's the show for today, guys. Hopefully you found some great value in here. Again, please like, subscribe, follow. Trying to hit some milestones. Follow Matt here at Hydrex. Go just check out hydrex.fi and get started on your journey into there. And what I loved about reading what you had on the screen, you're trying to make being in this space accessible to everybody, which I love, and that's something we definitely need to continue to do. So we do this show every Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's it.
Are you sure? No, go. Feel free to plug.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I was just gonna say, absolutely. Like trying to make it easy to enter the space and trying to make it easy to get on. So definitely recommend placing some trades. I think that's a good way to kind of experiment with our platform, what we've built. And then the second step would be check out the earn page. And if you do have assets you want to earn yield on, feel free to head over there. And then if you are with a project or a protocol and you're interested in seeing if we can support you, please reach out either to our main X, or you can send me an X DM as well, which is just the Matt Farrow, or HydrexFi is our handle on X.
What I will say is we have featured the FX USD USDC pool multiple times on our Beacon Spotlight in terms of finding the best stablecoin rates that are around. So definitely a pool to get into. It's got great TVL, great volume as well. So there's a little bit of alpha there for you guys if you're looking to find a good pool to get into. Wow, that USDC CBBTC pool is 38%. Huh. Uh-huh. Anyway, check it out, guys. And yeah, I mean, just take $20, put it in there, and just kind of see how everything works out in grocery. Obviously, if you want the best results, obviously getting into not only just Anchor Club, but just getting into the entire flywheel through their protocol and Flex accounts, I think would be a great way to go about it. So we do the show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. This is our long-running podcast we've been doing since December 2021. Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, is our Beat the Banks podcast, which is our long-running trainings that we do every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about DeFi concepts and just for all that are curious about what's been going on. We talked last week about what RWAs are. We've been covering a lot of security stuff, just staying safe, not falling for scams. There's some new ones that are out there again. Just be careful while you're out there. I mean, it's almost to the point where you have to say don't trust anybody, but it's like, how do you trust new people? It's getting harder and harder. Just be careful when you're out there, guys. This is your hard-earned money, so follow all of our great security practices just to make sure that you are protecting your funds, because the best way to make money in this industry is to not lose money. And that's really the long and the short of it. Do things that won't lose you money, you'll always be making money. Or to use Matt's thing, anything multiplied by 0 is still 0. So go
Yep.
out and make sure that you have a good allocation and you're well allocated in this space. So again, thanks Matt for being here, and we'll put his details in the post. So please follow him on X and all the other applicable platforms. Matt, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate your time, brother.
Of course. Thank you so much, Chris. Have a nice rest of your day.
Sounds good. Don't leave just yet, but we'll do the outro here. We'll see you next. We'll see you on Friday for Beat the Banks. Otherwise, we'll be back with another great panel next week. Talk about the news here on the Beacon TVL show. So we see you here on the show. Take care. 07. Beacons up. Banks down. Take care, everybody. We will see you next week.